Let's consider again now the experiment flip a coin twice. So the sample space for that was heads, heads, or first heads, then tails, or first tails and then heads, or possibly tails and then tails. Notice the number of items in our sample space is 4. What's the probability of getting at least one head? That would include the outcomes HH, which is 2 heads, which falls under the heading of at least one head. At least one means one or more. Maybe I should write that. One or more heads. That's different than exactly one. Exactly one means one and no more and no less. Okay, so this event contains heads, 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 tails, and tails, heads. The probability of getting one of these outcomes is the number of outcomes in the event divided by the number of outcomes in the sample space, which is 3/4. And if you prefer decimal, that's 0.75. What's the probability of getting 2 heads? That event contains only the outcome heads, heads. So obviously the number of outcomes, as we just said, was 1. Probability of this event E is the number of outcomes in E, n of E, divided by n of S, which is 1/4, or if you prefer, 0.25. By the way, I don't really care if you give a decimal or a fraction. Either one's fine with me. Let's go back for a minute to the experiment roll a die, which again has sample space 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If E is the event roll a 7, notice that that can't happen. If your die only has numbers from 1 to 6, you can't roll a 7. So the probability of getting a 7 when you roll a die is 0%. In other words, it's 0. On the other hand, if E is the event roll a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, well, when you roll a die, you've got to get one of those. You have a 100% chance of getting one of those. So your probability is 1, or 1.00. Now, notice that E, in this case, is the same as the sample space. And a little bit above in the notes here, we said that the probability of the sample space had to be 1. And that's because when you do the probability of the sample space, if you use that formula that we got, it's the number of outcomes in the sample space divided by the number of outcomes in the sample space. Anything divided by itself is a 1. Let's give you another chance to check your understanding or build your understanding. You're going to be taking one marble from a bag and computing the probabilities of each of 4 possibilities. Please do write down what the event is before you write down the probability. And please use the notation that I've been showing you so that you can practice with it. I'll go over this with you at the beginning of the next video, so see you then.